Senate Appropriations Committee will come to order. Thank everybody for being here. We have I think 4 departments presenting this morning, and we're going to begin with the Missouri National Guard. So you gentlemen may begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Brigadier General Bob Payne, Deputy Adjutant General for the Missouri National Guard. Thank you for the opportunity to appear today on behalf of Major General Charles Hausman, who sends his appreciation for the continued support of our soldiers, our airmen, and civilian workforce. The Missouri National Guard operates under a unique dual mission. We defend the nation when called federally, and we protect Missouri citizens when called by the governor. Across both missions, we prioritize readiness first, because readiness allows us to respond quickly, responsibly, and effectively when our state and nation need us. We are responsible stewards of both federal and state resources. As a predominantly federally funded force, our operations brought more than $473 million in federal funding into Missouri last year and contributed nearly $1 billion in total economic impact across the state, supporting local communities, infrastructure, and economic activity. That investment translates directly into outcomes for Missouri citizens. Over the past year, the Air National Guard participated in 4 overseas training exercises. The Army units conducted 5 large-scale exercises across the United States, Germany, and Panama. And we deployed more than 620 members in support of 6 missions overseas and along the southwest border, with an additional 337 members scheduled to deploy in 2026. Here at home, we support 6 missions, 6 state missions, including 4 state emergency duty activations, the gubernatorial inauguration, and funeral honors for Senator and former Governor Kit Bond. Our counter-drug program provided 25 analysts and aviation support for more than 23 partner agencies, contributing to 1,974 arrests and seizure of over 168 million in illicit drugs, money, and property. Our participation in Operation Midnight Hammer demonstrated that professionalism and readiness of our Missouri National Guardsmen operating at the highest level. Our 30-year state partnership with Panama reflects sustained engagement that strengthens interoperability and readiness. Looking ahead, we assess risk and align resources through disciplined prioritization. Upcoming priorities include continued federal deployments, support to civil authorities, and sustaining aging infrastructure across our armory network. Our nearly 12,000 members live and serve in communities across Missouri. They represent a people-first organization committed to professionalism, accountability, and service. Mr. Chairman, we value our partnership with the legislature, and we appreciate your continued support to ensure the committee has clear insight into how we steward those resources. I will turn to Mr. Nick Humphrey, our Deputy Director, to walk you through the FY27 budget details.
Thank you. Nick?
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Nick Humphrey with the Missouri National Guard. The first tab in our book is the Adjutant General Administration Corps, no changes. Next tab is our first NDI, Fiscal Accountability. That was not recommended by the governor. The next tab is the National Guard Trust Fund Corps. There's no changes to that corps. The next tab is the USS Missouri Corps. This was not recommended by the governor this year. The next tab is another NDI. This is for the World Cup FIFA deployment. Next tab is the Veterans Recognition Corps, and there's no changes. The next tab is the Adjutant General Field Support Corps, and there's no changes. The next tab is Waste Removal Services NDI, was not recommended by the governor. The next tab is Armory Rentals. There was no changes. Next tab is Missouri Military Family Relief Fund Corps. There was no changes. Next tab is the Adjutant General Training Site Corps. There was no changes. The next tab is the Contract Services Corps. There was no changes. The next tab is the NDI. This is Base Operations Support at Rosecrans Airport. The governor recommended the federal spending authority, but did not recommend the state match. And the last tab is the Office of Air Support and Rescue Corps, and there was no changes.
Okay, Nick, please go back to 59 and explain to those of us that are here, reducing that general revenue, my understanding was part of a match for a system, correct? On page 59, the 16,667 out of GR. I had in my mind that was supposed to be some kind of a match from the state
Yes, sir.
for that system. What is going to happen with the state not being able to provide that match through GR? Is there some other funds that are going to supply that match, or are we still going to be able to deploy this without the match? Can you give me any detail on that?
Bottom line up front, to answer your question, sir, I think so. I obviously don't want to speak for the governor. I suspect the reasoning behind this was, as you know, short on GR
Yes.
funds, so didn't want to put GR, but probably put in the spending authority with the thought that, hey, if you can find the money in current funding, then we're going to give you the federal spending authority. It's not a huge amount of GR, so I think we can. Won't really know till we get into next year, but we're definitely going to do our best to try to find that, because obviously we want to try to pull down those federal funds.
Okay. That is hopefully the plan.
Yes, sir.
And you used the word think. And my dad told me you shouldn't use that word. If you don't know, you probably shouldn't say anything. So, all right. Thank you, Dad. Good. I would like, as this moves along, for you to remember that I asked this, because I may forget it 5 minutes after you get out of that seat. But I'd like to know that we can get to an end to that, because it's another piece that surely helps our readiness, right? My 4 nephews that work in the Guard.
Absolutely, and rest assured I will not forget your advice, sir.
Thank you. And then I've got, from when do you anticipate the MOSWIN radio software upgrade will be implemented? That was something on that performance-based budgeting stuff that we talked about a little bit in the office that you provided. What's the timeline around it possibly?
Because there was so many radios, I think they were getting them reprogrammed in shifts. I think the actual reprogramming is done. I just wasn't sure if we'd actually paid the bill yet, and that's why I checked that it wasn't quite complete. But it will definitely.
Same as done, we believe.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Anybody else? Any questions? Well, thank you, and thank everybody that come with the group to present us. We certainly respect you probably more than you respect us. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
In the order of business I have behind me, I believe Department of Ag should be expecting to go next. Is that accurate? I'm going to start putting that book in front of me. We have another piece of paper, too, that I've got to retrieve, and then we'll be ready to begin. Good morning.
Good morning, Senator.
Good sunny day to show up, wasn't it?
Nice weather.
I am ready, Director. and My large crowd up here with me are anticipating your words.
All right, well,
For
thank you.
people listening in, the large crowd, there's 3 of us here this morning. So, yeah.
Yes.
And some days that is a large crowd in here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm Chris Chin, Director at the Missouri Department of Agriculture. You guys are all very familiar with our department, but a quick overview. We're made up of 5 different divisions and 4 boards and commissions. Our job at the Department of Agriculture is to promote and protect the agriculture industry. This year, I have brought with me my budget director, Amanda Kelly, and she is going to go over our budget with you at this time.
Good morning, everyone. Amanda Kelly, Budget Director for the Department of Agriculture. In respect, per the chairman's request, we're going to go over the core changes and NDIs. I did want to let you all know that we did a lot of budget to actual core reallocations throughout. So you will see some of those on the pages behind the cores. If you have any questions about those, feel free to contact us and I can get you some information on that. But outside of that, I'll talk to you about any core reductions that are other than those. So starting with the Director's Office core on page 2 of your book. The governor requests $7,075,000. This includes a cleanup core reduction request by the department of $200,000. This was authority for agricultural federal stimulus fund, was originally set up for specialty crop block grant after COVID. We ended up using our agricultural federal fund for this, and so we never used this authority. So that's a cleanup. The other reduction is the governor did a reduction of the Show Me Entrepreneurial Grants for Agriculture, also known as SEGA. This was a reduction of 1.193103. This leaves 1.856897 to be continued to use for those grants. We have an NDI for Resilient Food System Infrastructure Grants on page 11. This NDI is for the remaining $2.884 million federal authority to finish our reimbursements of the 4-year cooperative agreement. This funding is being expended on middle of the supply chain equipment and infrastructure grants. The remaining amount of funding will finish out the infrastructure projects, as equipment-only grants will be expended by April of this year. The next 2 NDIs are for Clarendon Road at the Missouri State Fair, and this is on page 14 and page 16. The governor recommended NDI is for $6 million GR for relocation of Clarendon Road in Sedalia in conjunction with the expansion of the Missouri State Fair. On page 18 is another NDI for Ag Ed on the Move. The governor recommends $250,000 GR to expand this program that brings together agricultural youth groups and community partners to enrich lives through elementary agricultural literacy. The next core with a reduction is the Ag Business Development Core on page 30. This includes a core reduction by the governor of $264,380. $14,380 was from the division's core E&E, and then $250,000 was a reduction from the urban food insecure, and this still leaves $250,000 in that grant. The next reduction is for the core of animal health on page 132. I'll give you a moment, sir. That's okay. There was a lot of pages in between there.
Okay, Amanda.
The governor recommended a reduction of $1,245,133. Though this is a reduction of $1 million from the black vulture mitigation money, that still leaves $660,000 for the black vulture efforts. Then a reduction of $245,133 from the division's core E&E. On page 142, we have an NDI.
Hold on just a minute. Senator May?
So on this, so that what you listed, my
Yes.
question is that on the page? So you're saying the reduction is $1,245,000
Yes.
33, and you're saying that's coming from,
GR.
okay, it's coming from GR.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it was out of what program, though?
Black vulture mitigation,
Okay,
and then the 245,000 was from the core funding that we use for animal health.
okay, I was just looking for that itemization in the book, and I'm not seeing it.
If you look on page 138,
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
you could see those.
She just showed me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The NDI for the additional animal health authority on page 142 would be our next item. We're requesting 400,000 E&E spending authority in our lab fee fund. The lab has higher expenditures over the last 2 fiscal years due to increases in testing from HPAI. On page 150 is the indemnities core. There's a reduction here from the governor's recommendation of 5,000, which leaves 5,000 GR to continue the control animal diseases by the removal and depopulation of disease-infected animals. The next core reduction is grain regulatory services on page 155. The governor reduction is for $17,207 from the core, bringing the FY27 request to $1.169 million. The next NDI is on page 188. This is for authority in our, from other funding in our fee, our lab fee, yes. It's for $240,000 to replace lab equipment. The next core is the Missouri Fertilizer Control Board on page 207. The governor recommended a reduction of 200,000. The remaining 250,000 GR is for planning and establishing nutrient management. On page 212 is another core reduction by the governor. This is a reduction of $109,232 from the core E&E for weights and measures and consumer protection. On page 221, we have an NDI for our large-scale truck. Excuse me. The request for $365,000 other authority is to replace a 2014 Freightliner used for checking truck, railroad, hopper, and livestock scales. On page 229, I did want to mention that we have requested a land survey flexibility between our PS and E&E of 5%, and that is a change from last year. The next NDI is for the Missouri State Fair E&E Spending Authority on page 242. This request of $600,000 other appropriation authority recommended by the governor is to help cover the increased costs from inflation, general contract rebids, the new arena, campsites, and general maintenance to support operations. The last core reduction and the last item that we have for the Department of Agriculture is on page 250 is the State Fair Equipment Replacement Core. This is a reduction of $25,000, bringing the request to $399,662 total. And this is for replacing of existing equipment and addition of new equipment at the Missouri State Fairgrounds. Those are the highlights of the Department of Agriculture's budget. Do you guys have any questions?
Yes, go ahead, Senator May.
So with the reductions and the NDIs, are we breaking even, or, because basically we got some new decision items that's going to take care of some necessary things we have, then we have some reductions. Where are we with the reductions and the NDIs?
We actually have a little bit of an increase in our budget
Okay, a little bit of
from
it.
over FY25.
Okay, and
Not in general revenue dollars, in its spending authority.
And yes,
spending
it
authority.
would be combined, a total.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Question, Director, and Jason sitting here, just quick update on what things have gotten done, and I did have somebody show me a picture of a bathroom, I'm intimate with, but was finished, but maintenance, what things have reached completion stage, and last year during my 11 days, I did not spend much time on the fairgrounds, actually, compared to normal, so I'd like to hear where completion's at, and then a couple other projects. Jason, what do you see going on?
Yes, sir. Jason Moore, Director of the Missouri State.
You are way too tall for that microphone. Pick it up.
To raise it up either.
You can be like a dancer and do.
Don't start the music. Don't start the music. All in all, things are headed in a good direction. The Parson Arena is back on track. Got a little bit behind last spring with some wet weather for setting steel and cranes like that, but we're set to open for the 26th fair. We've got events contracted, rodeos, bull rides, that sort of thing. The restroom that you mentioned that has been the ongoing one in the Swan Barn is complete. It's in its year warranty phase. The grandstand project is complete. Maintenance shop is complete. About 80% of our staff that'll be housed in there has already moved in and operating. Out of that one, we've got a stormwater and inflow infiltration project that's underway. Had a few issues with it, but I think FMDC's got some staff on site today to go over some of those issues. So all in all, we're on track.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
The next in the order, I have Missouri Department of Conservation. Was that the people expecting me to call you next? Because
I think that's the plan.
good to see you again, Director. I think it hadn't been too long ago, right? Was it
Not
last
long
week,
ago.
one day?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think our group is ready when you're ready to begin.
All right. Good morning, Chairman Black, members of the committee. My name is Jason Sumners. I serve as the Director of the Missouri Department of Conservation. As we discussed with Chairman Black, we'll provide an overview of new spending approved by the Conservation Commission. I'd like to mention that the information in the executive budget book is included in the department's expenditure plan, which will be available on the department's website following commission approval. The commission reviews the expenditure plan in April during a budget workshop prior to consideration of its approval at the May commission meeting. In addition, the commission annually reviews revenues, expenditures, monthly, and ensuring fiscal conservative approach. Looking at the numbers on page 4, the 3 largest revenue sources for the Department of Conservation are the conservation sales tax, which makes up about 62%, hunting, fishing permit sales, which is 16%, and federal reimbursements at approximately 16%. Department's budget represents 0.4% of the state's total operating budget, and we receive no general revenue. The amount of sales tax revenue generated from fish and wildlife recreation and forest products industry is more than the sales tax revenue received by the Department of Conservation. And so you can say that conservation pays its way in Missouri. Conservation dollars have and will continue to work for all Missourians. However, the department is not immune to economic challenges. The department has already taken several proactive steps to reduce personnel service costs and expenses while still providing excellent service and programs to Missourians. Over the last year, the department and the commission have been working to strategically reduce personnel services costs and operating expenses while minimizing the impact of priority programs and services offered to the citizens. Taking a proactive approach granted in the fiscal responsibility puts the department in a better position to provide public services and protect and manage the fish, forest, and wildlife resources. In the future, as in the past, the department will continue to build partnerships and engage citizens and stakeholders to meet expectations of all Missourians. This also means engaging legislators to help them understand how we are working for their constituents and communities. Examples include invitations to commission meetings, legislative field trips, and numerous public engagement opportunities by the department. The department has 3 strategic goals. Goal 1, MDC takes care of nature. Goal 2, MDC connects people with nature. and Goal 3, MDC maintains the public trust. The governor's recommendation for fiscal year 2027 is $25,537,640, includes $10.6 million in increases. Mr. Chairman, if there are any questions related to the Commission's approved projects, I'd be happy to answer them now, or we can go through the list of increasing items.
Let's begin.
Okay. Increases are listed on page 12, which includes $471,500 for increased costs and expense and equipment replacements for habitat management, $821,000 for radio and communication replacements for habitat management, $285,000 for increased costs for bottomland forest and wetland restoration on conservation areas, $100,000 to expand the Missouri incentivized carp harvest program on the Missouri River with commercial fishermen, $1.1 million for increased cost at cold water and warm water hatcheries related to electricity, food, and other supplies, $127,000 for expenses and equipment replacements for fish and wildlife management, $250,000 to expand and cover additional costs with the Share the Harvest program, $350,000 for expenses and equipment for the state multi-use health lab, $280,000 for expenses of education curriculum and training, $700,000 for increased IT replacement systems, $100,000 for increased costs of the federal duck stamp, $2 million for increased cost in fleet and heavy equipment replacements and maintenance, and $3.7 million for the Conservation Employees Benefit Plan for increased health care insurance premiums for the department's insurance plan. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this concludes my remarks. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Senator Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Director. Just a couple questions. In the list that you gave, I know that obviously there have been some problems at Bennett Springs and
Correct.
some money that, I won't say you wasted it, I'll just say there's some issues. Is there money in this list that you gave to complete that project?
So Bennett Springs will be in the CI budget.
Okay.
It would not be in our office.
So it's not here. Okay.
Correct.
And then the other question I had, are you getting ready to make some reductions in staff? I'd kind of heard a rumbling about that potential.
Yeah, we're in the process of balancing personnel services with other expenditures.
Okay. Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, anything you can share with us there?
Yeah, I mean, we've been having the discussions about what right-sizing the agency to ensure that our personnel services are in alignment. It's premature to say what those reductions will look like, but we'll be working with the commission.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Department of Labor, now we'll get ready for you. Okay, Director, I was looking over my notes to make sure that I was ready to begin, and I don't know if I am, but I'm ready for you to start.
All right, thank you, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, ranking member, and members of the committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present the fiscal year 2027 budget request for the Missouri Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. I'm Anna Hugh, Department Director, and with me at the table is Julie Kuhn, our agency's Chief Fiscal Officer. In addition, some members of our executive team are also here with us today. They are Chairman of the Labor Industrial Relations Commission, Rodney Campbell, Department Deputy Director Matt Hankins, Division of Employment Security Director Alan Andrews and Deputy Director Tony Vaughn, Division of Workers' Compensation Acting Director Ben Qualls, Division of Labor Standards Director Logan Hobbs, and the Acting Executive Director of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights, Shannon Thompson, as well as the Labor Industrial Relations Commission Secretary Jamie Lubert, and the department's legislative liaison, Mitch Turbach. This year's budget request is for $341.8 million and 787.63 FTE. The funding sources are 1.4% GR, 19.8% federal, and 78.8% other funds. Dolar's FY27 budget request is $33.5 million less than the FY26 request of $375.4 million. Based on prior year's data of caseloads and claims, supported by various fund sources, we have reduced our request for budget authority by $5 million. That's $250,000 in the Division of Workers' Compensation Second Injury Fund, $38.2 million in the Division of Employment Security's CARES Act and federal funding, and $775,000 in federal transfer authority. In addition, Dolar has $954,000 of general revenue reductions from the FY26 budget request. This request, totaling over $45 million, are part of the Dolar's continued commitment to right-sizing our resourcing to serving citizens. Starting with the Department Director's Office, which includes administration, the Office of General Counsel, Communications, and Strategic Planning, we have 51.65 FTE and are funded through a combination of sources, including GR, federal funds, and other funds. These units provide the services that support the entire agency in the areas of accounting, budget, communications, facilities management, human resources, legal services, procurement, staff training, strategic planning, supplies, and website maintenance. Dolar's largest division, the Division of Employment Security, led by Director Alan Andrews, has 519.72 FTE and is almost completely federally funded. DES administers unemployment benefits, disaster unemployment, shared work program, the war on terror unemployment benefits, and the collection of unemployment insurance taxes. In calendar year 2023, the Division of Employment Security's Unemployment Automation Fund began receiving funds. As a result, the combination with federal funds, DES has moved UInteract, Missouri's web-based unemployment insurance application, to the Amazon cloud to improve system performance and scalability, making UInteract the largest Missouri state government application hosted in a cloud environment. In early 2025, DES successfully implemented an upgraded UInteract system with a new foundation and robust modernized infrastructure. This will strengthen the agency's platform to continually innovate, and now it turns its attention towards new emerging technologies to further improve the citizen experience and program administration. Not only has the division continued its commitment to provide for a modern, responsive unemployment insurance program for all Missouri citizens, it is also committed to maintaining the proper balance between the health and integrity of the UI Trust Fund and the tax levied on employers that fund the program. I'm happy to report that for calendar year 2026, the vast majority of employers will see another 12% unemployment insurance tax rate reduction, along with a $500 decrease in the taxable wage base to $9,000. The department's second largest division is the Division of Workers' Compensation, led by Acting Director Ben Qualls, with 139.25 FTE. It's supported by other funds, primarily the Workers' Compensation Administration Fund. This division is responsible for assisting injured workers and their employers, resolving disputes between workers, employers, and insurers, the Tort Victims Compensation Program, line of duty payments, second injury fund claims, and adjusting the workers' compensation surcharges. The DWC continues progress on Work Comp Connect, a multi-year modernization effort to streamline processes and automate many facets of Missouri's workers' compensation program, improving how citizens engage with the division and the efficiency within which the division administers the program. Phase 1 will go live later this year and will include functionalities for case management, medical fee disputes, adjudication, benefit administration, and order entry. Our third largest division is the Division of Labor Standards, led by Director Logan Hobbs, with 37.22 FTE and funded through general revenue, federal funds, and other funds. It is comprised of the Wage and Hour Division that covers youth employment, minimum wage overtime, and prevailing wage, as well as 3 workplace safety programs and the Research and Analysis Unit. The Safe at Work program, which is a collaboration with the Division of Workers' Compensation and Division of Labor Standards, is in its 5th year, resulting in workplace data and informational publications that provide businesses with education on how to improve safety at their work sites. The Mine and Cave Safety Program continues to offer training to miners, mine owners, operators, and contractors. The division's on-site consultation program visited workplaces partnering with businesses to identify and correct hazards, as well as award Missouri businesses that model exemplary safety records and culture. The next 3 units are independent commissions for which DOLR handles all administrative functions. The Missouri Commission on Human Rights, headed by Acting Executive Director Shannon Thompson, has 24.7 FTE and receives both GR and federal funds. This independent commission works to eliminate discrimination in housing, public accommodations, and employment. They investigate complaints of discrimination in those areas and enforce the Missouri Human Rights Act. In addition, they support the independent MLK Commission. The State Board of Mediation is led by Chair Logan Hobbs and has 1.5 FTE and is GR funded. They work with public employers and employees on the designation of employee groups who wish to be represented by unions, hold certification elections, and certify the election results. In our appellate body, the Labor and Industrial Relations Commission, chaired by Rodney Campbell, has 13.59 FTE and is funded by a combination of GR, federal, and other funds. The LIRC handles appeals from administrative decisions in workers' compensation, unemployment compensation, tort victims compensation, and prevailing wage rate objections. As Governor Kehoe mentioned in his State of the State address, now is the time for us to lay the economic foundation that will see Missouri through the next 100 years. DOLR is aware of the fiscal landscape and the difficult decisions that this body will have to make to keep Missouri on sound financial footing. It's out of a spirit of shared responsibility that DOLR approaches this year's budget recommendation. Not only is DOLR putting forth a request that reduces budget authority by over $45 million, we're also working to advance legislative priorities that will, if passed, significantly reduce reliance on general revenue without any increase in taxes on employers, and will modernize the workers' compensation and administrative funding mechanism to more closely align the tax revenue to the actual operational costs of a program administration. We have one-pagers and fact sheets available that provide clarifying details of these priorities. DOLR is grateful for the continued investments by the governor to improve compensation through time of service pay increases and to greatly reduce the impact of any health insurance premium increases. These investments reflect the value we have for our state of Missouri public servants and make a real difference, not only in the pocketbooks of our team members, but also in workforce retention and succession planning. This helps to foster the culture that supports consistent, high-quality citizen service and program integrity. I'm very proud of the work that we've done and are doing better to serve our people across Missouri, improve program administration and access through technology, maintain fiscal responsibility, and foster a culture of professionalism and excellence in our workforce. We'll now present the department's FY27 budget request with all NDIs that were in Governor Kehoe's FY27 budget. At this time, I'll ask Julie Kuhn to help assist me with continuing the budget presentation, and we can answer any specific questions as we go through the budget.
Thank you, Director, and welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman, committee members. My name is Julie Kuhn. I'm the Chief Fiscal Officer for the Missouri Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Before we get started going through the department's budget book, I would like to cover new flexibility found in the FY27 budget, which is 25% for the Division of Labor Standards On-Site Safety Program, the Division of Employment Security Special Employment Security Fund, and 10% flexibility for the Division of Workers' Compensation Funds. The first core item, which changes from last year's request.
Remind me what that changes that we're changing to those numbers. What was it?
It was
before?
0 in prior years, so this is new flexibility for those areas. Okay. Our first core item, which changes from last year's request, can be found on pages 9 and 17. This is the administrative fund transfers. The governor's recommendation is a combined total of $15.5 million and includes core reductions of $775,000 in federal funds, $150,254 in general revenue funds, and also includes some core reallocations between federal and other funds of $90,000, which will align our authority with our planned spending from our cost allocation plan. Our next core with changes is the Division of Labor Standards Administration. This core,
Page,
page 32. This core has a governor's recommended total of $933,869 of general revenue, federal, and other funds, and 12.99 FTE. This core also includes general revenue reductions of $5,005 in expense and equipment appropriation authority. Our next core with changes is on pages 58. This is the State Board of Mediation. The governor's recommendation for this core totals $78,804 and 1.5 FTE. There is general revenue reductions in this core of $45,694 in personal service authority and $8,850 in expense and equipment authority. Next is on pages 74, is the Division of Workers' Compensation Second Injury Fund Core. The governor's recommendation totals $70 million from Second Injury Fund, and there's no general revenue. It does include a reduction of $5 million due to a continuing decrease in the Second Injury Fund claim payments. On pages 80 is the refunds for the Second Injury Fund. The governor's recommendation is for $250,000 from the Second Injury Fund with no general revenue, and also includes a reduction of $250,000, aligning our authority with planned spending needs. Our first new decision item is found on pages 92. This is the line of duty compensation, and is a governor's recommended total of $800,000 of additional general revenue transfer authority for the line of duty compensation, which is due to the increase from $25,000 to $100,000 that in compensation that a family could receive. The corresponding new decision item found on page 100 is the additional authority from the payment fund.
okay, Julie, question on that. As we see an increase in this funding, for the money to be able to get out the door, it doesn't seem like there's any FTE changes associated with that. So from my perspective, I'm believing the department believes they have the staffing, technology, et cetera, to be able to handle this point.
Yes,
You don't see a change needed in there at this point.
correct.
Thank you.
Our next core with changes is the Division of Employment Security Administration. It's found on page 115. The governor's recommendation for this core totals $46.1 million of general revenue, federal, and other funds, and 497.72 FTE. In the FY27 budget, this core includes a reduction of $14.7 million in CARES Act funds due to grants that have ended, 8.5 in federal fund authority, which is aligning the budget with our planned spending needs, and a $704,910 in general revenue, personal service authority. In FY27 budget, it also includes core reallocations of $2.7 million and 7 FTE, taking it from this core to our Special Employment Security Core, which will align the authority with the department's planned spending from that fund. On pages 125 is a new decision item for the Division of Employment Security Core. It has a governor's recommendation totals of $10 million in other fund authority. The new decision item is for personal service and expense and equipment authority needed from a newly created administrative fund, which will help provide funding for the unemployment insurance program with the goal of eliminating the reliance on general revenue. Okay. Next, on page 130, is the employment and training payments. The governor's recommendation for this core totals $2 million federal funds, with a core reduction of $9 million in federal funds due to funding that's ended. On pages 135 is the Special Employment Security Fund Core. The governor's recommendations for $9.9 million, other fund authority, and 22 FTE. The 27 budget does include the core reallocations previously mentioned of $2.7 million and 7 FTE from the administration core to this core, which is again aligning the department's authority with planned spending needs from this section. On page 148 is the Debt Offset Escrow Core. Governor's recommendation is for $10 million other funds, no general revenue, and includes a $6 million core reduction of other funds due to authority that's no longer needed. And the Missouri Commission on Human Rights is on page 154. The governor's recommendation totals $1.6 million of general revenue and federal fund authority and 24.7 FTE. This core also includes a general revenue reduction of $1,258 in expense and equipment authority and $38,200 of personal service authority, along with 1 FTE. And that is the last item in the department's budget, with changes from last year's request.
Okay, the last question also that I have, how does this core reduction with Missouri Commission on Human Rights, how does that affect operations? Was it an FTE person or an open position?
It is a vacant position.
Vacant position. So today, we don't see that it will have an impact on services coming from that department at this point.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay? Any other questions? Well, no, that's just getting my brains ready for later. Okay? That sticky note. So thank you all for being here. Alan, if you'll stick around, I'll say hi to you for a minute. Our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, sir.